All right, now welcome into the Wheelhouse here on E5280sports.com, elevate 5280 sports and lifestyle. This is the Wheelhouse, and if you have followed along with us for the last couple of years, you would know that technology hates us.
Hates us.
Hates us. And I know hate's a strong word, but that's what it is, Matt. How are you this morning? Besides all of this crap.
It does. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. Besides all this crap, I was vibing this morning because I was able to go to the restroom and get it all out, get ready for the show, and then I come in and I was messing around with this last night. I was doing stuff. I didn't do anything, and then all of a sudden, it's not picking up any of my stuff. So we had to do that there, and then we had a little issue now. It wouldn't be a show. Like, I don't know what we're going to do when the day comes when we turn it on and nothing happens. I don't, and it just goes right to where we need to do. I don't know what we're going to do that day.
Yeah, that's the day the robots take over anyway. So
Yeah, I guess so.
we'll probably be screwed. So
Closed.
So welcome to the Wheelhouse here. It is game day Sunday. As again, I don't know what's with these long breaks and 2 days off now. The game should have been last night, but I get it. It was game one of the Stanley Cup final last night between Vegas and Florida. We'll get into that towards the end of the program. So that might be why, man. I'm guessing they didn't want to really interfere with hockey. Hockey is being played on TNT. I wish the NBA Finals were on TNT, but
Yeah.
that is neither here nor there. But if you want to see Shaq and Chuck, they are doing work for NBA TV, so you can catch them on pre and post game show on NBA TV. I think they do halftime stuff there as well. It's not the same. There's no Ernie. I don't know Ernie. There's no Ernie. It is. I think, who is that? Was that Steve Smith and Chuck and Shaq? And I forgot who the host is. It's not Ernie.
No, it's not Ernie. Yeah, you got. I guess Kenny's there too, right? The three of them, and then
I don't know if it's Kenny. I think it's Steve Smith or Grant
Steve
Hill
Smith?
or somebody like
Oh,
that.
it's Grant Hill. Grant Hill's there. Yeah, Grant Hill's there.
Steve Smith and Grant Hill look very similar.
They do. They do. Yeah, it's not a bad show. I was kind of watching it too because I mean we've talked about the ESPN's coverage. It's like watching a Lakers home broadcast, and it's still like watching a Lakers home broadcast, to be honest.
Yeah. So this, I was at the game, Matt. It was absolutely awesome, and so it was cool to be there, man. And experience game one of the NBA Finals. I will be there tonight as well. I'm going to try to do like a live. What do they call that? Vlog. Is that
Are you gonna start it from the parking lot and walk all the way in? And
yes, you'll see my high heels clicking and things like that. So
your tan lines?
yeah. So
I can't wait for that, Mike. I can't wait for that.
I don't know what we'll do. So yeah, but game one was awesome, Matt. And we'll get into it here in just a couple of seconds. Game two tonight, 6:00. So it's a half hour earlier. At least it's 6:00, Matt. So on a school night. So
school night. Yep.
We have a game two tonight, but game one, Matt. We will see what kind of adjustments the Heat will make as we preview game two here in just a few. And we do apologize for being 15 to 20 minutes late. And make sure you interact with us all kinds of different ways here. You can like the Facebook page, Elevation 5280 Sports. You can like the Instagram page, Twitter at 5280 Sports Radio, and subscribe and like the YouTube channel as well. That's the same at 5280 Sports Radio, and head over to e5280sports.com where we are streaming live as well. And the podcast will be later up on the website and also on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts as well. But game one, man, Nuggets had a 21-point lead at one time, and they kind of let that go by the wayside. Bam Adebayo had his way with everything. And talking to the people around me, Matt, if Bam Adebayo is doing all your scoring, you're doing something wrong. And they, being the Heat, is doing something wrong if Bam is getting 26 points.
100%. I agree. And that was on 25 shots too.
He was not very efficient.
No, he was not. And that's the thing. It's like he's had his highest scoring output all around with shots, scoring, and the Heat were down by 20 and they still lost by double digits. We're okay with that, right? It's okay. Bam, go off, baby.
Yeah, and again, if Bam's doing all your scoring, something's going wrong for Miami. And I've noticed this about Jimmy Butler, Matt. And if you've seen all his press game or his post and whatever post game press conferences, he seems to have a lot of confidence, Matt. And I don't know if it's cliche or whatever. It's first to four. I like our chances. Blah blah blah, whatever. But when he's on the court, Matt, he just seems so hesitant. I don't know. And we've seen this in the Boston series as well, but we talked about it. That was because the good old tree and Robert Williams was standing there.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the last series against the Lakers for the Nuggets, Matt, even Rui Hachimura was like, Denver really doesn't have a rim protector. And Jimmy Butler should be kind of doing the same thing, Matt, and taking it to the hoop. There was a couple times, and I was actually facing the basket where Jimmy could have had a wide open layup, dunk, and instead he passes it out. And I don't know why he continued to pass it out in the third quarter because none of Miami was hitting their 3-pointers.
No.
But he could have had an easy 2 points, and he's passing it back out.
Yeah, it's weird, man. Like, I don't want to. We know what Jimmy Buckets can do. We know what he's capable of doing, but it was odd. But we also know he has games like this. I think he had a couple of them in that Boston series. Again, we don't research, we react. So I off the top of my head, I feel like he's had a couple of those games in that Boston series, and even in the series before that in the Knicks series. And even you go all the way back to the Milwaukee series too. I mean, he's had games like that where what the rest of the team was doing kind of kept him afloat and got him through it, or they even lost those games. If you look back and look at the losses that Miami had in the previous series, you can point to Jimmy Butler having one of these types of games. It was really odd in this game because that mystique is out there. And I think even somebody from the Heat said it. And I know Skip Bayless keeps replaying it over and over again as one of the faults of Joker, that the reason why he's not the best player in the world is because on defensive end. And it's really starting to get to me hearing about that the Denver Nuggets have no rim protector. They don't have no rim protector. If Joker needed to be a rim protector, I fully think that he could be some sort of a rim protector, go back and forth. And he was even kind of doing that in this game one, kind of patrolling the paint a little bit in that first half anyway. And you saw it kind of made him a little bit hesitant. But the biggest thing that I've saw, and I've been really going at this too, is Michael Porter Jr.'s defense. He's long. That dude's what, 6'9", 6'10", something like that. Him and AG, Jeff Green. You get guys like that are going at these Miami Heat wings and guards. They're a lot longer. So I think, I think Michael Porter even swatted Jimmy Butler on one series, and Aaron Gordon swatted him too. So the length of the Nuggets wings are really, really, I think could make Jimmy a little bit more hesitant. We'll see how he comes out and what he does in this game. But outside of Jimmy Butler, maybe Kyle Lowry, there's not really somebody that's going to attack that rim for the Miami Heat. So if Jimmy's going to be the guy to do it, he's got to do it.
Yeah, and you mentioned Michael Porter Jr. had 2 blocks. It seemed like he had like 7, but he only had 2. One of them was on Jimmy Butler. Aaron Gordon had a block. Jokic did have a block as well. And yeah, Michael Porter Jr., one of them was shades of LeBron in the finals, running down the mole that is Andre Iguodala in the finals way back when. So yeah, he definitely had a whale of a game for Michael Porter. 14 points, 13 rebounds. Didn't shoot the ball particularly well, Matt. Only 5 of 16 from the field, 2 of 11 from 3. But of those 2 threes, they seem very, very timely.
Very timely, yep.
So that's what you do. And Aaron Gordon, I mixed Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter. Aaron Gordon had a whale of a first quarter, Matt. He was just eating inside. Yeah. And when you make the switch, when Caleb Martin's guarding him, Gabe, you could see the frustration on Gabe Vincent. Just saying, he's using the elbow, he's hooking, but dude, you're Aaron Gordon has a few inches and probably at least 40 pounds on you, Gabe Vincent. So there's no way you're going to be able to stop that man. And so Aaron Gordon had 14 of his 16 points, man, in the first quarter. So he was eating those mismatches just all night long. The one starter, Matt, who wasn't in double figure was KCP. He did have 7 points. Again, 3 of 8 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3. So you imagine if KCP got his normal 14, but on the flip side, Matt, if Jimmy Butler got his normal 22 to 25, what kind of game would this be?
Right. And that's like even if, because what he scored like 13 or something like that, I think. I mean, there were some shots that, and you can point and say that, and this is the biggest thing too that I noticed, that what I keep seeing and I keep hearing is, whenever a team, they did it with Phoenix, it happened with the Lakers a little bit, and maybe even Minnesota too, but I can't remember. I feel like that's so long ago. When a team comes out and doesn't shoot well and they miss a lot of baskets, the narrative after that, the talking point after that is, oh, they're not going to do that again. And when the Nuggets come out and shoot well and make baskets, the narrative is, oh, they're not going to do that again. When in every single series, we have seen them do that again, over and over again. And I think that has a lot more to do with the way this Denver Nuggets is playing defense, the way they are playing defense, I should say. And I want to say they're tops, maybe top 2, top 3 in the playoffs on the defensive end. And that's not getting talked about as much as it should be. There were a lot of uncontested shots, wide open shots, I guess you could say, or good shots that the Miami Heat missed. But a lot of those came from a lot of those missed shots. You can, whenever you bother somebody, when you know that guy's pretty tall and he's going to come out and contest, he's pretty long and he might block my shot. That's in the back of your head. So a lot of these shots that the Heat were getting up and not going in, that had a lot to do with the way Denver's defense affected them in that first quarter, first half situation, and then later in the half. And I think Miami's tired, man. I think they're tired. They came out of that 7-game series and had 2 days rest. Yeah, that's rest you get, but shooting is in the legs, and I think a lot of these dudes are tired, and I'm not going to come out and be like that football guy, but I think Denver physically smacked these dudes in the mouth, man. And it's just, we're wondering how they're going to respond tonight with Jimmy Butler and Caleb Vincent. And I think isn't what's his name like not going to play because he's sick? Caleb Martin, isn't he sick?
Is that his excuse? Because he absolutely played terribly in game 1. The dog at halftime, Matt, by the way, had more combined points than Caleb Martin and Max Strus at halftime.
That's cold-blooded.
And yeah, the little dog that performed at halftime had more buckets than Caleb Martin and Max Strus. Matt, you cannot have one of your starters score 0 points, lay a goose egg. You cannot have that. If you're in a finals game, Matt, I don't know why we're not seeing Kevin Love completely taken out of the rotation. The last 2-3 games of that Boston series he hasn't played. Cody Zeller should not see the floor ever again in this series.
No.
I feel bad for the guy because look, he's tall. He's a tall guy.
Yep. Vance Joseph would love him.
He had a good week of practice, but I mean, sure, you match up height wise with Joker, but Joker has at least Matt? What would you say? 60 pounds on him?
At least, maybe even more than that. And it's not even in the fat category. It's beef, man. Joker's a beefy dude, man.
Yeah. So Cody Zeller, I have to do research, Matt. I'm sorry. So Cody Zeller, 6'11", 240. 6'11", 240. Nikola Jokic, by the way, is 6'11", 284. So he's got 44 pounds on. They are the same height, just a couple shades shy of 7 feet. So Joker does have 44 pounds on Cody Zeller. And I don't know how many times we've seen Cody Zeller on the ground, Matt, especially that one where Joker just excuse me, sir, just making his way off the subway. Excuse me. And Cody Zeller goes flying to the dish. And so I don't know who you throw on him, Matt. It seemed Bam did disturb a couple of his shots. It looked like, and I don't know what it looked like on TV, Matt, but Joker he had 27 points on 12 shots, Matt. That's the definition of efficient.
And it's, he affects the game. That's the biggest, like, how are the talking points keep being, what are you going to run at Joker? What are you going to do? He doesn't need to score. He doesn't. He took his first shot with it was like almost at the end of the. It was ridiculous on how they people are finally starting to see and understand, but they still say dumb things like, "Oh, you're going to do this and do that" to joke. He doesn't have to score the basketball to be efficient or to be a part. That's why the MVP thing. I don't want to go back there. I know it's over and did and done with, but that's why the MVP conversation was so stupid because of how much Joker affects the game, and he doesn't have to score. And you saw that on full display. Back to the Max Strus stuff. That was that like you said, a starter not contributing at all, and then you look at all these. They were all undrafted players. They were all players that were cut. Michael Jordan cut Caleb Martin. There's all these stories that are around there. And what you saw, and I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but what I saw is in game one was I saw those guys look like undrafted role players. They look like teammates that they didn't have any other option to go to. And remember, these guys are getting these minutes because there's no Victor Oladipo. There's no Tyler Hero now after that first series. So these guys are getting these runs because of these injuries and stuff like that. And the game one, they looked like dudes that were undrafted. They just did. I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but game one, they look like those kind of dudes.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen Jamal Murray's media day yesterday. Some guy, and he had a thick accent. I couldn't tell you what accent it was, but I don't know what country, because NBA in general is a global game now, Matt. So I don't know if these guys are on Zoom or if they're actually in house when they're asking these questions. But this dude and poor guy doing his job, asking the question, asked Jamal Murray the question, and I'm paraphrasing, did the shots not fall because of lack of experience on the big stage? And the expression that Jamal Murray gave, and just looking at him, and all he said was no. And then a few seconds went by, and then whoever's running it said, "All right, thanks, Jamal." And then he gets up and leaves. But can you say the same for the Miami Heat, Matt? All these undrafted guys, and I couldn't, again, all reaction, no research. I don't know if Caleb Martin, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent was on this team in the bubble. I don't think they were. Can it be said for the same thing about them, Matt? I mean, the stage was just too big for them to hit these shots. Can that be true?
I mean, it could be. There's a lot of things. Yeah, because the way I look at it is you have to get this experience somehow. And however your experience is, when you first get that experience, these guys haven't. I can almost say 100% that I don't think Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, Max Strus have playoff experience outside of what they've got this season in this playoff run. And yeah, I do think that that there is something to say about that, because especially when the shots don't fall, because guys that have that experience, like Jamal, like Joker, because these guys do have experience. They have Jamal Murray. Go back to that San Antonio Spurs series when their first year of the playoffs. He had that was the first initial sighting of Get Hot Jamal, when he scored like 20 something points in that fourth quarter to lead the Nuggets past the Spurs. I think it was I want to say it was game 7 or game 6, one of the two. But you saw that there, and that's how you gain that experience. These dudes, when the shots don't fall, it looked like they were just like done. Like mentally, they were out. They were like, it's not falling tonight. I don't know what to do. When experience, if you had that experience, it would tell you, keep doing what you're doing, keep shooting the basketball, and keep playing defense. Try to get a better shot. Try to get a better opportunity, but keep playing defense. And I don't know if you can point to those guys and say that that's what those guys did well before, outside of the shooting, because it looks like they were done. They were out of the game, outside of Kyle Lowry and Bam Adebayo. And, Caleb Vincent, I think he had 20 points, 18 points, something like that. So it wasn't an awful game, but that's what you're going to get from him. And you need stuff from Jimmy Butler and guys like that to for this team to be better. So it is kind of on one hand, it's like, yeah, these guys are they're getting their finals experience now. To think that some of these people, these talking heads, were saying that Miami's going to be the more experienced team. They were questioning Joker and the Nuggets experience, their toughness. I can't believe that was in question, but there is something to that. But you got to have, when you look over your guy, you know, Caleb Vincent or I should say Martin. Caleb Martin's over there looking at his dude like Jimmy Butler, like this guy's not getting anything for me, and I can't make a basket. Max Strus, they go off of what Jimmy Butler does. So overall, I think these guys will go as Jimmy goes, man. If Jimmy gets going tonight, I think some of these guys could go with him. So that's something we'll see, I guess, going forward.
Like you just mentioned, should, you know, this team goes as Jimmy goes, should that change? Should this team go as Bam goes? Because, you know, Bam's interesting to me, and all we heard kind of all weekend, I don't know if you heard the same, is, you know, Jimmy and Bam, the 1-2 punch, Jimmy and Bam. I'm like, Bam?
Yeah.
I mean, he you know, he did have his the team high 26, and you mentioned Gabe Vincent did finish the game with 19, Jimmy with 13, Caleb Martin 3, and again, I didn't see the report where he may not play tonight because of sickness, but maybe he's just scared because, again, Scooby had more points at halftime than Strus, and Scooby did finish with more points than Strus, by the way.
Yeah.
Martin outscored him by 2, but should this team go as Bam goes, or will we see a different Jimmy Butler in game 2? Because let's face it, Eric Spoelstra, again, touted as probably the best coach in the NBA, and I'm not disagreeing with that, Matt. And second longest tenured coach in the NBA, by the way, Michael Malone is 4th, and obviously Pop is number 1. Do you know who number 3 is? Sorry, side tangent trivia question.
Number 3, I got to think real quick about this.
All right, why you think should this team go as Bam goes, based on game 1, or will Jimmy turn things around?
I mean, you want to point to Jimmy and you want to say Jimmy go. We go as Jimmy goes, but and I think that's been the thing the whole playoff series. But when you look at Bam Adebayo, they compare him to Anthony Davis a little bit, and when you look at Anthony Davis is the tip of the spear. You know, Anthony Davis is I'm trying to think of a store or something to compare him to, but it's like Anthony Davis is the King Supers, the Kroger, the upper echelon, and then, you know, you got the Winn-Dixie down here, and that's Bam Adebayo. You know, there's kind of like a mixture, or he's kind of a low. I'm not going to say a poor man's Anthony Davis, but you know what I'm saying. Remember what happened when Anthony Davis went off in that game against the Nuggets, game 1? He scored like 40-some points, went off. Adebayo did the same, and they lost. Adebayo did the same thing. He went off, scored his highest scoring output, his highest scoring or his highest shot attempts, all that stuff went off, and they still lost. And they weren't even in the game until Kyle Lowry made some threes and kind of, you know, made the score closer, if anything. I don't think they were actually ever in the game, but they made it closer. So to think that if you go by Bam, I mean, he doesn't bring the same things that an Anthony Davis does. There's a type of it. His defense is kind of there. Offensively, he can. It's hard to, because if you got Bam shooting those jumpers at the free throw line, and then so if you're going to play off of that, I don't know if all these other guys can go with Bam. You know what I'm saying? I feel like these guys can go as Jimmy goes, because Jimmy creates more space, if Jimmy's going, you might not have to double him. You're gonna have to trap him. You're gonna have to do something to get him going. Bam, as you saw, they're just letting him get whatever he wanted in there. So if you let Bam get what he's going to get, and then Bam tries to look off a pass, you're not gonna double Bam, because he already went off and got 26 and get whatever the hell he wanted to do, and they still lost. So could you run through Bam? I mean, maybe, but I don't think this Miami Heat's offense is set up that way. I think they go through Jimmy. And I think the biggest thing, too, we might notice tonight, if Kyle Lowry, I don't think they're going to start him, but I would be curious to think if Spoelstra might think about bringing him into the starting rotation, especially if Caleb Martin doesn't go. I think Kyle Lowry can add more to this team than Caleb or even Gabe Vincent right now, the way they're going. So that could be an option, but it would be curious to see if they did try to go through Bam, how that would look. But I don't think they have the pieces around them to actually do that. I think they got to go through Jimmy.
Yeah, a couple of things to unpack what you just said. It shouldn't go. Well, again, you didn't say shouldn't go through Bam, but maybe it shouldn't go through Bam. But based on what we've seen, and again, maybe just based off of game one, and like I mentioned, going back to that Boston series, the Eastern Conference Finals, we've seen this hesitant Jimmy drive into the lane, and for whatever reason, because all respect to Joker, Matt, some of those Bam jumper, and by the way, you're gonna let Bam shoot those all night long.
Right.
Let Jimmy or excuse me, let Bam cook should be the Nuggets motto. Just let him shoot. And again, 26 points, Matt, off of 25 shots. That's terrible. And
That's horrible.
so, and as you mentioned, the offense is gonna go through Jimmy, but again, I throw out there, should it go through Bam because of the hesitance of Jimmy? And you kind of said, maybe not. That's not the way they play. But I should it? Is my question. And I know it's going to go through Jimmy regardless of how he plays. But at this point, again, unless Jimmy makes some sort of adjustments and isn't hesitant, drives into the lane, gets us. Matt, the Miami Heat only shot 2 free throws that entire game. 2. Because they did not drive the ball in the paint like they normally do. And again, watching that Boston series, they kind of did, they were, but again, we saw Jimmy drive in the lane and then for whatever reason stop, pump fake or whatever, and then throw it back out.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know what their offense should do. Again, I'm assuming that Spoelstra and Jimmy are going to make adjustments, but I mean, this has kind of been the trend the last couple of weeks for the Heat.
Right. It's when you have a team that's like the Celtics that's helter skelter, that you don't know what you're going to get, so inconsistent, so flaky on if Tatum's going to show up, if Jaylen Brown's not going to bounce the ball off his legs. They're so shaky there when with the Celtics that you can kind of get away with that, playing that type of basketball the way the Heat did, and have Jimmy, show up every other night or have a down game and still be able to come back in a 7-game series. Because if you look at the Heat, they've lost 4 out of their last 5. They've lost 4 games out of their last 5. So they're not playing good basketball right now. They're really not. If you really look at their stretch of games, yeah, they won a game 7 and they destroyed Boston. And
one of those games they lost by 0.1 seconds, by the way.
Right. So and that was an unbelievable game in itself right there too. So if you just look at what the Heat are doing right now, they're not playing good basketball. And could you say that what that Boston series was more of what Boston didn't do or couldn't get right? If Boston got right, that series would have been over. Like you could say that, but the fact of the matter is that it wasn't. The Heat won that series. So to me, I don't think the Heat have enough offensively. They have to count on Duncan Robinson making those threes. They have to count on Caleb Martin, Max Strus making those shots when they get them in order for this team to win. And that's the only way that they win tonight, is if those guys knock down those threes. And if Jimmy gets going, that's the only way they have a shot at winning. And my belief, Mike, is if they do that, even if they go all that, they make those baskets. Denver did not play a good basketball game. I don't think they played a good basketball game. They only scored 104 points. They were that fourth quarter looked like that. It's something the Nuggets do every series. It looks like they did it in the Lakers series. They did it in the Phoenix series. They did it in the Minnesota series where they gave up a big lead and made the game more than what it could have been. So the Nuggets can play better basketball. And I think the Miami Heat, I just don't think they're playing good basketball right now. I really don't.
Have the Heat kind of reached their ceiling? Is that, or are we just seeing, for, pun on not intended, I guess, have the Heat just flamed out as an 8th seed? Have they finally, this whole stretch, beating the Bucks in 5, beating the Knicks in 6, taking Boston to the limit, has their has their, I guess, exposure of an 8th seed finally come to fruition here in the NBA Finals against the number 1 seed?
That game, Mike, that's a great point and a great way to put that. That game 1 of the conference final or the NBA Finals looked like a number 1 seed playing an 8 seed. It just did. It flat out did. And in my opinion, that I think that's what this series is going to look like. It's going to look like a number 1 seed playing an 8 seed. That's just what it's going to look like. So yeah, I do believe that they flamed out. And you know, I'm not going to say, you know, we got Jimmy Buckets over there. He can go off and do things. But there's Nikola Jokic sitting over here on this team. There's Jamal Murray. There's Michael Porter Jr. I can go down the list. I just think flat out this is a number 1 seed playing an 8 seed, and that's all there is to it.
Going back to your Anthony Davis comment, when he went off for 40 plus in the Nuggets series in the Western Conference Final, they still lost, and if and we saw Jokic in the Phoenix series, was it game 2 or game 3 where he went off for 53 and the Nuggets still lost.
Yep.
So and like you said, comparing Bam to AD is kind of a little unfair for both players. I think they're both. Let me rephrase that. I think Bam is better defensively than he is offensively, and I think AD is better at both.
Yes.
I think AD is a better offensive and defensive player than Bam, and we still saw Jokic just absolutely take care of Anthony Davis. So I don't know. The whole Rui Hachimura experiment was kind of a laugh. It was kind of a joke. Yeah, I seriously hope that we don't see poor Cody Zeller out there again for the Miami Heat. You mentioned Kyle Lowry. If Caleb Martin can't go, maybe we'll see a Kyle Lowry, although he does kind of bring that, I wouldn't say energy off the bench because he's a senior citizen, but and Miami has 3 senior citizens, by the way. Can you see Kevin Love play instead of Gabe Vincent? I know Kevin Love's going to give up a couple inches, but pound for pound, again, Jokic is still going to have the pounds on pretty much anybody unless Shaq comes off the sidelines and put on his old Heat jersey. I mean, can you see Kevin Love start playing in game 2? Again, he hasn't played since, man, I want to say like maybe game 3, game 4 of that Boston series.
Yeah, since he hurt his ankle. Yeah.
But can you see Kevin Love enter this game? Will we see? I mean, I would honestly just throw Haslam out there. I mean, you're basically sitting 12 fouls.
Exactly.
That you can easily put back on the bench if you needed to. And again,
that's
the rotations in this deep into the playoffs are not going to be stretched to 8 or 9, especially 10. You got 11 guys on there, but can you see us? I mean, I would imagine we see Kevin Love unless he's really not ready to go. I can't imagine that you see Cody Zeller again.
That's the thing right there. You hit it right there. He's an older player and he's got that ankle injury, his foot, whatever it was. I don't know how bad it is, but there's a dude right there that has experience. He's got finals experience. He's got playoff experience. He's got all the experience you'd want. Is he healthy? Can he go out there and he can probably make some smart plays? He can probably make some plays better than Zeller, I would imagine. Kevin Love can pass the basketball. He can distribute. I don't know.
He can also get hot from 3 if you just let him shoot.
He can get hot. He can get hot from 3, but it's just a health. And again, it's like, and I'm not comparing Kevin Love and LeBron James at all, but what happened to LeBron when he went off in that first half? Second half, gas tank was empty. He was not as efficient. He was not as dominant because he knew he was hurting, whether it was the foot, whether it was the gas tank. The same thing's going to happen with Kevin Love, but it's going to happen way sooner, much sooner. And you bring that guy in, you might get a bump in the first quarter, first half. You might get something going there, but outside of that, I don't know. Again, you have to. Miami, in my opinion, has to play a perfect game for them to beat the Denver Nuggets, and they have to hope the Denver Nuggets play a mediocre game. And in this, there's so many scenarios you can throw out. There's even Highsmith. Highsmith had 18 points in 22 minutes.
I was just about to bring him up.
Yeah. There you go. He could be somebody that could be put into that starting rotation if Caleb Martin or somebody like that isn't able to go tonight, that could be an option. But I still look at Kyle Lowry. I still look at if Hero's ready to go. Hero's been a Nuggets killer. I mean, I know the Heat haven't really beat the Nuggets in a long time. They put up a stat, hasn't happened since 2000.
4 years.
Yeah, 2000, something like that. So I'm not saying that's going to be a big change, and the dude's coming off of a hand injury. So how efficient is he going to be? But that could be something. But by that time, the series could be already over. You know.
Do you see the Heat signing Markieff Morris from wherever he is, or is he still in concussion protocol?
I think he's still hurt. I think Joker ended his career with that.
Bring back his brother and just say it's him.
You could do that.
They look similar. I mean, I just kind of mentioned that, you don't really go 8-9 deep in the playoffs, and Miami actually went 10 deep, Matt. They had a 10-man rotation in game one. We saw Kyle Lowry get 11 points off the bench. Cody Zeller only played 7.5 minutes, 0 points, 3 rebounds, and about 8 fall downs. So we had that. Again, Duncan Robinson, you have to be better than 3 points. And you mentioned Highsmith, 18 points off the bench. Kyle Lowry, 11 points off the bench. Two of your 5 guys who were in double figures came off the bench for you, Matt. I mean, do you have to be careful with who you insert into the starting lineup, though, from the bench? Because when those guys sit, you need some kind of, I guess, equal part, I guess. You need that. You need to spread up that talent between the starters and the bench. But, with Caleb Martin and Max Strus is getting you a combined 3 points, I don't really know where you get those points from. Again, unless Kevin Love is absolutely cannot go because of his ankle or whatever, do you throw the other Nikola Jokic in there? I mean, there's just – I'm sure Eric Spoelstra will figure it out. And, again, I think if Kevin Love was ready to go, I think he would see some minutes. But, I mean, like you said, I think they've just not tapped out as in giving up, but they've tapped what they can out of this Miami Heat team. So I guess the question comes down to, obviously the Nuggets are just the better team, right? That like you mentioned, Miami just does not have enough in the tank. And again, that's not saying they're old or whatever, or they're tired or whatever. They just don't have enough offense in the tank to compete with this team.
No, they don't. This Miami Heat team is probably up and down, top to bottom. It's an 8 seed. It's an 8 seed. And their whatever flame or whatever wave they were riding, I think it's splashed against the big wall of Nikola Jokic, and that's it. And I mean, you can say there's something for heart, you can say there's something for grit, but when it comes down to it, if that other team is just top to bottom better than you, there's nothing you can do. You can't. And Miami doesn't have the horses. They don't have the guys that they can try to pull off the bench. There's no Tristan Thompson. I mean, this is where we are. We're looking at Tristan Thompson to come in and get us 5 minutes in a Lakers series to hold off a sweep. I mean, give me a freaking break. Like this is where we're at right now. And let's look at it this way. Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler. Bam Adebayo played 40 minutes. Jimmy played 38. Gabe Vincent played 38. You're going to run these 3 guys 40 minutes apiece. You're going to have to do that. Like, I don't see Jimmy coming off the floor. I don't see Bam coming off the floor.
I think Bam can play the entire game if he needed to. Probably Jimmy. He's only 33 is kind of, past your prime in sport years. But I think Jimmy's built well enough to play a whole game. Again, I'm assuming Gabe Vincent's ankle is okay by playing those many minutes. But how about this, Matt? We mentioned Cody Zeller and Jokic are the same height, 6'11". Joker's 284, and Zeller is 240. So he's got 44 pounds on Cody Zeller. You throw Kevin Love up there, you're giving up 3 inches, but you also gain 10 more pounds because Kevin Love is 251. But Jokic still has 33 pounds on Kevin Love. And again, bringing it back to, if Jimmy scored his normal 22 to 25, this would be a different game. If Jokic saw that happening, you think Jokic would have a measly 27 points on 12 shots? No, he'd be close to 40.
That's the thing. Like that's a great point, Mike. If that's why it's so difficult for me to look at this Heat and be like, oh, they got a chance, because you just said it right there. When Jimmy does what Jimmy's supposed to do, okay, now Joker's got to do. The Joker's going to do a little bit. It's going to be a little bit different with what Joker's doing. I mean, there's and Joker knows if he's got somebody on him that he can just back down all the way to the basket and turn around and do a little flip shot, hook shot, one of his somber shuffles, or back him all the way down. Here comes the double team. You just wait. He's backing him down, waiting for Bam Adebayo to come over across to help, and then there's a pass to Aaron Gordon for a dunk, or there's a pass out to Jamal Murray for a three, pass out to Michael Porter Jr. for a three. That's where we're at. Like it's how are you going to stop that? If you turn this up, Joker's just going to do something different. Joker's just going to download it in his computer and then spit it out and adjust to it. That's just what's going to happen. So yeah, it's so tough to look at it that way. And again, and my point with these guys playing 30, 40 minutes, okay, you should leave them out there for one game, they get the win. How good are they going to be in the next 2-3 games when they've played almost the entire game just to get one win? So this is the things that you're Eric Spoelstra and your Miami Heat that you're looking at, and you're going to live and die by it. That's the NBA Finals. There's nothing else you can do. This is what you have, so you're going to live and die by it. And I think that's what Spoelstra is going to do. You're going to see some adjustments, whatever they may be, but they're going to live and die by it.
Yeah, and good to see Greeley Gary back on the text line once again. You can leave us a comment or text us, by the way,
Nice.
on 720-375-2341. Greeley Gary says, guys, is it a good thing that Nikola Jokic excuse me, hold on, reading the wrong thing here, and let me pull that back up. But Matt, to your point, I think that Jokic has said this many times in media availability, press conferences, whatever. He doesn't force anything. He takes what the game's giving him. If the game is telling him that he doesn't have to score 30 plus points, he's not going to. He's going to get everyone else involved. He for as much as he scores, he's pass first mentality always.
Yeah.
Do you agree with the notion? And this is going to Greeley Gary's text. Do you agree with the notion that the Heat should just let Jokic get 40 plus points and cut off all of his lifelines? And that's what I've heard a lot too, is just let Jokic score, because we've seen him score 53, man. And I think he had sub 10 assists in that Phoenix game where they still lost and he had 50 plus points. Is that what Miami should be doing? Just let Jokic score and cut everybody else off, stop throwing doubles at him?
It could, like, so that's a pick your poison situation, right? That's okay, well, we're going to let Nikola do that, score the basketball. The thing with Nikola is that he always makes the right play. He always makes the right play. Now, if they're saying they're just going to let him take the ball into the rack and score the basketball, and if they're thinking like that's a dangerous game in itself, because he's still going to, and that's, I mean, you'd have to look and to see how bad, like how much are you just going to let him do whatever he wants and let him get because that was the old adage with Kobe. I remember Kobe, it was always Kobe's going to get what Kobe gets. You got to stop the other guys from getting theirs. And if you play that with Nikola, he's going to get what he gets, but he's still going to get other guys involved, because the way that this offense works is it runs through Nikola. So if you got Nikola just shooting the basketball, giving him free run to the lane, he's going to get the points, and at the same time, he's going to make the right play. Does that make sense? So if there's a guy that's open, he's going to get him the basketball, or he's going to score the basketball. And that's basically what I'm saying, Mike, is Nikola already does that. Nikola already gets whatever he wants to get. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And I understand if the question is, if you're just going to let him score and let him get he does it anyway. He's going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Like we're seeing Nikola get whatever he wants right now. It's
like you said, it's pick your poison at this point. And I don't know if there is a right poison you can pick. I mean,
and Mike, sorry to cut you off real quick, but Anthony Davis was the right poison, That what they had there, Anthony Davis. We're not going to be able to see Joel Embiid on Nikola Jokic. Anthony Davis was the right poison. Anthony Davis was the right guy to get there and to see if he can stop Nikola. He couldn't. He couldn't do it. So right now, outside of us seeing Joel Embiid's not going to suit up for the Miami Heat because I wanted to see that matchup. Outside of that, you're not stopping Nikola.
And again, unless Shaq puts on his
right,
comes off the sideline, and that would probably be a medium on him at this point, wouldn't it?
You know what matchup I would love to see Nikola in is with Kevin Garnett.
Yeah,
I would love to see Garnett cover Nikola.
Well, and you got that guy chirping from Taiwan, Matt. Dwight Howard said in his prime he'd be able to stop Nikola Jokic. Look at the Lakers did play well against the Nuggets in the bubble, whatever.
They had what they needed, yeah.
Asterisks, whatever. But you still had a younger Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis is still a pretty good player, great player, Hall of Fame player still. Whether he and I forgot who's. Let me hold on. Let me get to that point really quick. The Lakers in the bubble, Matt, had Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard, and JaVale McGee. They had 6'11 plus, three guys 6'11 plus on the court at the same time, Matt.
Yep.
This year, besides Anthony Davis, Rui, really? Tristan,
I know.
Freaking Thompson, really? And again, if I was Anthony Davis and I heard all week, all series long that, Anthony Davis had Dwight Howard's help and JaVale McGee's help, I would be out there. If I was Anthony Davis, I would carry that chip that whole series. And maybe he did. Maybe he did hear that talk, and he just did the best he could do. Do you see a scenario where the Miami Heat kind of do what the Lakers did and have, again, I'll just throw Kevin Love's name out there, have him play one-on-one and have Bam roam? Because we did not see that at all in game one.
Yeah, we didn't. And again, that goes to how much can Kevin Love do that? If he can go out there and give you good minutes and do that, then yeah, that's an option.
I just threw his name out hypothetically because I don't know who else can play. Kevin Love's actually pretty decent defensively, and again, and again, this is all I should pre-surface that by saying I don't know how his ankle is, and I don't know how well his defense is now, but he seems to still play pretty good defense for how long he's been in the league.
And I know I mentioned, I think Anthony Davis is probably one of the, if not the best defensive big man in the NBA. I think he's better than Joel. I really do. But if you look at the first series with Minnesota and you look at Tim Conley when he made that trade for Rudy Gobert, you're kind of scratching your head why they did that. Well, they did it because they want to play against Nikola Jokic. And look what he did to both of those guys. Now, nobody's saying Karl Anthony Towns or the Big Purr. The Big Purr. He's not a great defender. He's a good defender. He's a big man.
He didn't want any. Neither of them wanted any of that.
Neither of them wanted any. None of them did. And those are big men. Rudy Gobert's former defensive player of the year. He didn't want anything. That game, that series is a perfect example of there's a situation that was created to stop Nikola Jokic, and they didn't. And you're going to see teams, especially when the Nuggets win the finals, you're going to see teams load up on big men, especially in the Western Conference. You're going to see some kind of just run on guys, on teams getting all these big men that can play, that can throw bodies at Nikola, because it's going to be to stop Nikola. And we're not even talking about Jamal Murray right now.
Yeah,
and
that's crazy.
That's another thing that's crazy is what Jamal Murray can do to this team and for this team. And that's why in my head, I just don't see any chance outside of, I'm not even going to say it, but that's how good this Nuggets team is right now. We're not even talking about Jamal Murray, another factor that they have to stop. Because in my opinion, I think how you stop the Denver Nuggets is you double Jamal Murray. You don't let Jamal Murray go off. And for me, that's how you stop the Nuggets. You don't let him go off. But I don't know if Miami's capable of doing that. Boston could do that. I don't know if Miami is capable of doing that.
Yeah, and I heard a lot of talk about doubling Jamal and just letting everyone else kind of do their thing. But we'll see. Again, Spoelstra's pretty good at adjustments. I was a little, and I don't know if it was in-game adjustments by Spoelstra and the Heat or just being lazy on defense for the Nuggets, but during that mini comeback. But we'll see we'll see what kind of adjustments they make. Want to get to Keith's comments here. And again, catch Keith, by the way, on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. He said, remember back in December when the talk was Malone might be gone because he couldn't manage his rotation. Look, I was even on if the Nuggets lose in the first or second round, and now it's kind of, I don't want to say factual for lack of a better term, but now it's kind of come to fruition that, you win a championship 3-4 years ago and you fail to make it deep in the playoffs, man, you're fired. Yeah. We saw that with Mike Budenholzer. And look, I'll preface this by saying I think Mike Budenholzer had a lot going on outside of basketball. The death of his brother, that right there would make me want to say, all right, maybe he'll come back. I honestly think he's going to take a year off, Matt. That's just what it seems to me. And we'll get into some of these coaching hires here in a bit. Nick Nurse, who's now the Philadelphia head coach, won a championship with Toronto in 2019. Frank Vogel, who now the Suns head coach.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Won a championship with the Lakers in the bubble. And then we just saw Monty Williams take the Suns to the final and, lose obviously to the Nuggets in the second round this year. He now becomes the Detroit Pistons head coach. So I was on the train, Matt, that if Michael Malone and the Nuggets did not get out of the first or second round, you almost have to cut ties with them, right? I mean, I was on that train.
I was on that.
I don't care about his rotation, Matt. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I would like to see, when they were kind of, I don't want to say struggling against the Phoenix or the Lakers. I would have liked to see some young guy just go out there with a ton of energy, like a Peyton Watson. I don't really necessarily like Aaron Gordon being your starting power forward and then all of a sudden become your backup center.
Yeah.
I think that just takes too much out of him. But again, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Maybe a Zeke Naji to come off and play 5 to 6 minutes as a backup center, just to give not only Jokic a little bit of a breather, but Aaron Gordon too.
Right.
So I don't really the whole rotation thing, Matt, I could care less. Again, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I was on the train, Matt. If he didn't get out of the first round, you almost have to get rid of him.
I was there with you too. Because you have everything going for you, and you have Nikola healthy, MPJ healthy, Murray healthy, Gordon healthy, relatively healthy. There were some rib issues. Nikola had some issues with his hand. There was they were getting more healthy towards the end of the season there, but I was there with you. Like if it was a first round, second round debacle loss, if they would have lost that series to Minnesota, I'm that depleted Minnesota team, because that team was hurt. Lost to that team. Yeah, I was there with you on, they need another message, or this guy. I don't know how you could go into the next season with Michael Malone, because that's a lot of pressure. If you lose the first round, it was championship. In my eyes, it was championship, Western Conference Finals at the least, but finals or bust. That's how I kind of felt about it. So I was right there with you on that first. The rotation stuff, I never really I felt like he was doing what he had to do. He was trying to get that rotation going. My problem was in Minnesota, that series where he left Nikola out there a little bit longer than he should. I was a little bit nervous about that, but now going forward, I can see what he's doing when he's doing that. So for me, the rotation didn't bother me as much, because as a coach, I coach middle school, high school kids, so it's not even comparable to NBA, but I understand rotations, and there's some guys that you trust to put in situations, and there's some guys that you don't. When you look down at the bench looking for a spark, there's some guys that you want to put in that can give you that, and there's some guys that I don't know. So I think that's what Michael Malone is trying to do, is figure that rotation out. And we got into the playoffs here. I would have loved to see Zeke Naji in that Phoenix series. I would have loved to see Peyton Watson in that Phoenix series. We saw Christian Brown. And also you notice too, Christian Brown hasn't been getting a lot of run. He got a lot of run in the Minnesota series, the Phoenix series, the Lakers series was not for him. And I think they might have noticed that, hey, even though he's coming off back-to-back high school championships, national championships, maybe the NBA right now, this finals, is a little bit too big for him, even though I still think there is a spot for him in this series. And I don't know if they should just leave him out altogether, but you can see that Michael Malone trusts some guys, and there's some guys that I don't know if he doesn't trust them, but maybe the moment's not right for them. But yeah, next season, man, the next season is going to be huge because there's a lot of talent on that bench.
Right. And, it was funny because the Nuggets always seem to, that start the third quarter a little bit lackadaisical, a little bit kind of, I don't want to say lazy, but again, it's just weird. And I was waiting for that Michael Malone rage timeout. It never came. He did it in the fourth quarter.
It was in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
right.
Early in the fourth quarter. I was like, oh, rage timeout. Wait. It's like the Happy Gilmore. Wait, he's restrained himself. Here comes a putter throw. But no. He waited till the fourth quarter for his rage timeout. So, and again, going back to your point on CB, Christian Brown, yeah, the Lakers series seemed kind of too big for him. I think the first time he went in the game in game one against the Heat, I think he played like 30 seconds, and then they're like, nope. And then they kind of he had a short leash. But then, he ended up playing just over 8.5 minutes, whatever. So he did okay. And then, it's whatever. The rotation's whatever to me. Again, this is about the 18th time I've said it, but if it's not broke, don't fix it. So
100%. Like, and then that's the thing with why I kept looking at because you still got Thomas Bryant, you still got DeAndre Jordan. I
think we would see DeAndre over Zeke or Thomas Bryant,
right?
If anything.
Exactly. And I'm not going to say shocked, but I could have seen DeAndre Jordan in that Lakers series. I could have seen DeAndre Jordan in that Phoenix series. Maybe even I think he did come in that Minnesota series. I can't remember exactly when it was.
Being on the court for one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I agree with you with the rotations. That's a coach's deal. And I'm not going to say a coach has been fired over rotation problems. I'm sure there has been coaches that have been fired, but if you're going to fire Michael Malone this season, it would be because he couldn't get a win in the playoffs. He couldn't get his team he couldn't push the right buttons. I don't think it would have been for the rotation problems. No, the rotation didn't seem too big, other than, like I said, in that Minnesota series when he kept Nikola and he kept Jamal out there longer than I thought he should have. Other than that, it is what it is. Like I agree with you right there. It is what it is.
So here, another text from the 907, Matt. This season was called Western Conference Finals or bust for Michael Malone not to be fired. Throwing this quick scenario out to you guys. What if the Lakers came back and did win that series, breaking the all-time winless streak for teams that are down 3-0? Would Malone have been let go if the Lakers came back and won that series? That would have been tough because I agree with the notion that this was kind of Western Conference Finals or bust for the Nuggets and for Michael Malone. But to give up be the first team to give up a 3-0 series lead, in history, that would have been tough. I guess you have to look at the semantics of it, Matt. Was it coaching problems that led to that?
Right.
Because again, these coaches, I feel bad for some of these coaches because they're not out there playing, Matt. They do have to put the right guys on the court to execute those game plans. But, you can't really coach hustle. You can't really coach will. You can't really coach heart. So I don't know. I guess you have to, if it came down to it, you would have to look at did he set these guys up for failure? Did he set these guys up to be in the wrong positions? I don't know. That would have been a tough one.
I agree in that everything you said. It would have to be look at to see how they lost. If it was like a LeBron James and Anthony Davis, for some reason they just clicked and it went crazy, and it was vintage LeBron. I'm not going to say vintage Anthony Davis because that'd be him injured, but it was vintage LeBron doing what LeBron does. And because I was telling some of my players, I got one player that is a big kid, but he can dribble the ball. And I was trying to tell him to play like LeBron James. He had no clue what I was talking about. I sent him some things. LeBron can do whatever the hell he wanted when he was at his peak. He could do whatever he wanted defensively, offensively. And that's what it was going to take for the Lakers to do that. And if that was the case, if LeBron just went off, and you would almost just have to tip your hat. But if it was a scenario like like where the message was wrong, they come out and Michael Malone doesn't hit a timeout when there's a big run with the Lakers, like a rage timeout, or he should have made a rotation change if somebody was just not doing it. If let's just say if Bruce Brown was not getting it done, was turning the ball over, not making baskets, KCP wasn't defending, and he wasn't pushing the right, but he wasn't getting somebody in there to try it. There's a lot of scenarios that you can look at to blame or look at, say, hey, Michael Malone lost this game, or the adjustments he did not make lost this game. Because in that case, you would have to see Michael Malone. I don't think Michael Malone and the Nuggets have made big adjustments in any of these series. It's been the same thing over and over again, outside of the adjustments of maybe, not pulling guys out further and not playing down the basket. Or the defensive adjustments. But outside of that, you would have had to look at if Michael Malone didn't make the proper adjustments and they still lost, or the adjustments that Michael Malone did make and they still lost. So that's some things you have to look at scenario. But losing like that, that's a big one. Winning the first 3 games and then losing 4 in a row, that's big. That is big, because you'd have to lose a game 7 at home. You would have to lose a game 5 at home. There's so many things, or game 6, game 7, 5 at home. You'd have to lose games at home, which the Nuggets haven't done this year. So that's an interesting scenario. Very, very interesting scenario. But I think a lot of things would have to go the route of Michael Malone just not making the right adjustments for him to get fired in that scenario.
Right. So that's a tough one.
It is tough. And if the Lakers did do that,
situation.
Yeah. If the Lakers did do that, it would have been a combination of LeBron turning back the clock, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it was, and a combination of Michael Malone or the Nuggets just utterly collapsing in that scenario. But yeah, that's a cool one to talk about for sure.
Yeah. So again, I get to Keith's comments here really quick. Give me a scenario where the Nuggets lose game 2, and this is kind of leaking into our preview of game 2 here really quick, Matt. Again, the chess match between Michael Malone and Eric Spoelstra as the series go on is going to be interesting. Again, Spoelstra is known for his, I guess, chess playing and in-game and between-game adjustments. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in game 2, how the Nuggets lose game 2. I guess my first thought is if Jimmy Butler has his normal, we've been mentioning this a couple times, if Jimmy Butler has his normal 20 to 25 points or whatever it is, maybe that's what happens for the Nuggets to lose game 2. But again, as we mentioned also, if Jimmy goes off for his normal 22 to 25, Nicola's going to be like, all right, I see you. And I don't know if you saw everyone's kind of been talking about this play where Kyle Lowry, or I don't know if it was Kyle Lowry, someone was shooting free throws for the Miami Heat, someone was shooting free throws for the Denver Nuggets. I think it was Nikola was shooting free throws, and Kyle Lowry did a pistol.
Yeah. Yep.
And Jokic saw that and was like, all right. So he kind of did the pistol cue to everyone else, and it led to a Heat turnover. So this is what happens when again, you mentioned it. Nicola's going to put it in his computer, print it out, 3D print it out, whatever, and that was the result, man. It led to a turnover for the Miami Heat. So if Jimmy goes off for his 25, Nicola is going to be like, all right, give me the ball. This is it. And I don't know if you saw Jamal, or if you saw Nicola on the sidelines, again, drawing up a game plan, talking to MPJ, like, hey, do this, do that, do that. And again, I don't know what he said, but that coaching on the sideline by Nicola as well. So whatever the Heat counter with in game 2, the Nuggets are going to have a counter punch to that. So I don't know if you can make whatever adjustments you make. Not only are the Nuggets going to adjust to those adjustments, but Nicola is going to, again, put that in his database and figure it out anyway.
I agree 100%. And like I said earlier, if the Heat are going to win a game, and I'm not even talking about winning the series, I'm talking about win a game, they're going to have to play a perfect game. Jimmy Butler is going to have to play a perfect game. Bam Adebayo is going to have to play a perfect game. Caleb Vincent is going to have to play a perfect game. all these role players, all these other teammates are going to have to do what they are supposed to do and still hope that Nikola has an off night. Jamal Murray only scores 10, 12 points. KCP doesn't get hot. MPJ doesn't get hot. Aaron Gordon doesn't do. They have to play a perfect game and then still hope that the Nuggets don't play an average to mediocre game, because right now the way it looks like Miami's perfect game is comparable to the Nuggets average mediocre game. The Nuggets don't have to play a perfect game to beat this team. That's what the thing is here. The Miami Heat have to be perfect. The Denver Nuggets don't have to be perfect, and that's what I think is going to happen. If they don't come out and do that tonight, the Heat have to win one here. It doesn't matter if they go back to Miami and win two there. They're not winning a game here in Denver. A team, and the Heat, the only option, has to show that they can beat the Denver Nuggets on the home floor. Until that happens, I don't see the Nuggets losing.
Yeah, now the Nuggets are 9-0 on their home court. Yeah, the Heat have to steal one, and everyone was saying game one would have been the one that they could steal, just because they only had 2 days break. They're coming off that high of winning game 7. Nuggets had 10 days off and all of that. Another comment here. Are you guys getting out the broom? I don't know, Matt. I hate calling for a sweep. I honestly thought the Lakers would have won game 3, and they didn't.
Yeah.
Because at that point, the Lakers were undefeated at home too. So pulling out the broom, that's just totally disrespecting the Heat. And I'll pull out the broom, Matt, if it happens. But to say it's going to be a sweep, I'll say this: I wouldn't be surprised if it was a sweep.
Yeah.
But I don't want to prematurely break out the brooms. But I wouldn't be surprised if I pulled out the broom on Friday.
Right. I agree 100%. I'm not calling for a sweep, even though everything I've said and talked about describes a sweep. But I've always picked this series to be done in 5. I felt like it would go this way at home with the Nuggets, and then I felt like that first game in Miami, just like I felt like with the Lakers, that first game in Miami is going to be on fire. It's going to be hot. Brooks Koepka is going to be there, blitzed out of his mind, clapping repeatedly. You're going to have all those other stars there. Derek Jeter, A-Rod, Derek Jeter, the worst baseball player ever. I'm just kidding. And then you're going to have the fans going crazy. You got Miami and Florida in the finals. It's going to be hot. It's going to be going crazy. And I felt like that the Nuggets might get there and they might not play their best. They have a lapse. Miami will be up, ready to go, play their best, and they would get that game there. That's what I felt like. And then that would make it, I want to see the Nuggets celebrate a finals championship. Don't get me wrong. Anywhere it is, I don't care where it's at. Miami, LA, Somber, wherever it is, I want to see them celebrate one, but I would love it if it was at home.
Right. So, and I don't know if you saw who the Nuggets had on courtside, by the way. Ken Jeong, hello.
Hey.
Come on.
Mr. Chow was there?
Yeah. I mean,
Leslie Chow. Yeah.
So long, boys. So Peyton Manning was there. I mean, Sean Payton was there.
Yeah, you sent me a picture of
Blake Anderson was there from Workaholics. And by the way, shout out to This Is Important podcast with Blake, Adam, Durs, and Kyle. Awesome podcast. Go check that out. By the way, I said I listen to their podcast every day, every week. He truly appreciated that. So if you notice me at the crowd tonight and you say, hey, I love you guys' podcast, I'd probably buy you a beer like I did Blake Anderson.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's cool to see that. That's cool to see. And I feel like our famous people, it was Matt Parker.
Creators.
Yeah. I was going to say, it was Matt Parker.
They were their last round.
Yeah. Were there any former Denver Nuggets there?
Yes, Dan Issel shot the opening free throw.
No kidding. Did he make it?
He botched it. But the Nuggets have won every game that somebody's missed the free throw.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they've won every game in the playoffs that people have also made the free throw because they're undefeated at home. But every game this season that some kind of, I guess, celebrity has missed the free throw. By the way, Matt, Rocky made a half-court shot too. So
I saw that. I saw that on the thing. They were showing it. Yeah.
You mentioned really quickly here the Stanley Cup final. Vegas absolutely destroys Florida, by the way, in game one of the Stanley Cup final last night, 5-2 in Vegas. So game two will be tomorrow night. So not going to be a sweep this time for the old time to hunt boys, but we'll see. And Matthew Tkachuk got into a little bit of scrape, was escorted to the locker room, throat punching dude. So I don't know. This is going to be a scrappy series. I want to see Florida win, Matt, but
Me too.
I wouldn't be surprised if Vegas swept all of a sudden. I don't know.
Yeah, me too. I was watching that game until it just got out of hand. It was scrappy. That's a good way to put that. It was scrappy. You saw the fight like almost immediately. I felt like they were going at it. I'm rooting for Florida, and I watched that game. Outside of that stuff, it was not really much of a hockey game. And you know what's funny too is it kind of sucks because like I like what the whole Florida Miami thing, what's going on there. You know, I really enjoy it. And if we didn't have the Nuggets in the finals, I'd be rooting. I might be wearing a Jimmy Buckets jersey. You know, I love the story. I love everything they got going on there. An 8 seed getting as far as they got, but there's just no shot. They just got no shot there.
It's almost hard to hate the Heat.
It is, and I don't hate them, and that's
Eric Spoelstra's a good coach.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Jimmy Butler does say some cryptic things in his press conferences. You know, he said, "I like our chances." You know, they're gonna say the right things.
Right.
You know, everyone loved what he said about Demaryius Thomas.
Right. Right.
You know, and last night he said, you know, he's going to go to an escape room. That's how he kind of gets his thoughts together. You know,
and he listens to country music. He loves country music.
Yeah, you know, he that's how he gets his mind kind of set of getting out of situations, I guess, is what he said. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. And, you know, it's hard to hate this team.
Yeah.
You almost have to hate Jimmy Butler to hate the Heat.
Exactly. I agree 100%, man.
Really.
Exactly. Right. Like I could hate the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker's a punk. Chris Paul's a punk. Kevin Durant. I mean, I respect the way he plays basketball, but I don't like what he does. Can't stand those guys. Couldn't stand Big Purr and Rudy COVID-19 Bear. You know, I couldn't stand that team. And then there's the Lakers.
Seats, by the way.
Huh?
Is Gobert still licking microphones and toilets?
Oh God. Idiot.
Remember that? He started that whole shutdown.
He did. It was his fault. And then of course, you know, the Lakers, we hate the Lakers. I can't hate the Heat. I don't pity them, but it's like, man, these poor dudes, they're running into a buzzsaw.
By the way, speaking of that, this narrative, there's also another out of the millions of narratives that people are throwing out. This one kind of irks me the most, Matt. Is this would be the easiest path to a championship if the Nuggets win? I mean, really? This is the face I'm giving that, Matt, right here. Like, really? Like, this is how the playoffs are set up. Like, it's not their fault that they're sweeping the Lakers as a 7 seed. It's not their fault. I mean, Phoenix was picked when they got Kevin Durant. They were picked to come out of the West and represent the West in the NBA Finals. Took care of them in 6. Some people even had Minnesota beating the Nuggets, Matt. Took care of them in 5.
Rob Perez.
And your old buddy Skip and all these other senior citizens are saying Heat in 6. And now, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with Shannon Sharp, you know, Denver Broncos legend, but you can kind of see why he's getting his contract bought out at Fox Sports now, because I don't know who else can work with that guy. I mean, you know, the big perk also is just terrible. And I downloaded NBA 2K, man. By the way, that game pisses me off. Not only do I have to deal with Kendrick Perkins on that game, and by the way, JJ Redick's on that game too. He's always on your side. So
there you go.
But you can't play franchise.
Do you have to go through a player, right?
Yeah, you have to create a player, or you have to go through eras. You could do like Michael's era, Kobe's era. I mean, it's stupid. So I am playing alongside Joker though, so I should get better.
You should. He makes everybody better.
Yeah. But this whole narrative of the easiest path, this is how the playoffs are set up.
I know.
Like, they're talking about reconstructing the playoff format almost because of this. Like, dude, you have the number one seed in the Western Conference since what, mid-December, just plowing their way through the playoffs. Aren't they supposed to be doing this?
Exactly. And how many of those games or those series were the Nuggets favored?
0.
None.
Except for this one.
But like none. So you're gonna say to say that, and then also to say that they picked a lot of people. The majority of people picked Phoenix. The majority of people picked the Lakers. And then now all of a sudden, well, they were supposed to beat those. No, that's not how it works. I love what Michael Malone said too last week. I think it was kind of in context to this. He said something that if the Nuggets were playing the Boston Celtics, would they be favored? No.
Oh man, can you imagine all the Boston Cop-Hawks at Ball Arena? Oh my god.
Oh,
it's not a couple Heat jerseys, but if it was Boston, Matt, it would have been. I would have been like this.
It was. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy the narratives that they tried to go at, and even when Skip's the worst right now because he had to pick the Nuggets in the Lakers series because that's Shannon's team, but now he's got the Heat, and even Nick Wright too. I don't know if you watched them on Friday.
If I saw him in person, Matt,
dude, very punchable face.
Literally, I'd probably be in jail right now.
Dude, Chris Broussard destroyed him. He even said,
"I like Chris Broussard though."
You like him?
Kind of, I said.
He's coming around. He's really coming around because he's actually watching Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets play basketball.
Yeah, he's like the I don't want to say the JJ Redick of Fox Sports, but he's kind of leaning toward. He
is.
He's smart. I'll just say that.
Yes, because he called out Nick Wright and he goes, you're going to come on here with this cockamamie angels in the outfield scenario that how the Miami Heat win. Oh, I was rolling. Nick Wright was on his heels and backpedaling the whole show because that's what him and Skip Bayless and even Kendrick Perkins, they're using this underdog 8th seed. They've done all this mentality when they're not looking at the Heat have won one game in the past 5 games that they've played. One freaking game in the past 5 that they've played. They are not a good basketball team right now.
By the way, there's some Twitter beef going on right now between George Karl and Kendrick Perkins. So,
they got it. I got to look at that. I didn't know that
because George tweeted out like a video of Perk saying, "Of course, something," and he said, "When's the last time you were right at Kendrick Perkins?" Is what he said, and then he put a little smiling face emoji. And Kendrick Perkins replied with like 7 or 8 different video clips, and he said, "Right here, I'm right. Right here, I'm right." And it's basically him having to change what he said, like he said, backpedaling.
Yeah,
because everything he predicted was wrong. So it's kind of funny. Go check that out.
It's hilarious. All these shows are now comical and funny because these guys are totally getting exposed for. And look, just come out and say, look, I've never watched Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets actually play basketball.
Yeah, and now Dan Patrick, who I liked, is saying the Nuggets are boring, and he's jumping on that Kendrick Perkins side of the fence, and I'm just like, I even tweeted at Dan Patrick too because I rage tweet.
Yeah.
Like
you got some good ones, dude.
I'm just like, really? I was like, man, I was a fan of DP, but now he's joined the fray, and I'm paraphrasing even what I said because I don't remember what he said. I said I was like, dang, even DP is joining the quote. I've never watched the effing Nuggets basketball game in my life.
It's true.
Now what? Keaton Johnson, who should not even be close to talking about basketball, like when Max and J-Well, by the way, too, has been on the Nuggets train too.
Yep.
They should just mute Keyshawn's mic because in the Lakers series, he's a Lakers guy too, and saying I'm forced to watch. Like everyone's kind of being forced to watch it now. Right. So and the ratings were kind of low for game 1, by the way, but we're not going to talk about that.
We're not going to. I mean, it was on a Wednesday night. There was wrestling on. It's Thursday night. I'm sorry. There was. I can't. I ain't going to talk about that.
That's why game 2 should have been on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I agree.
Yeah, it was kind of. I was just like this watching the Twitter beef. So
it's so ridiculous, dude.
I believe that some of these guys have to be scripted. Like, hey, Perk, you're going to play devil's advocate and argue this side. They're almost becoming very good actors at this point because they can't believe half the dog crap that comes out of their mouth.
And did you hear Stephen A. even called him a liar too? He goes, I can't believe you're going to come on here and lie in front of.
And JJ Redick absolutely shredded Mad Dog. Why is Mad Dog hosting these shows, by the way?
Because he screams. He screams a lot. I don't know.
Stick to baseball, bro. And yeah, I mean, JJ Redick was said I forgot what he said to Russo, but he just said you're dumb, basically, right to his face. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. I love all these exposing of people that never watched it, and and Mike, what it all is it's sports entertainment.
That's what I mean. They're
it's
all
sports entertainment.
It's like what is it, like Jersey Shore and
yeah,
whatever. It's like whatever these reality shows are that you think is they're responding in the moment when it's really all scripted.
Yep.
It has to be that way. Because you literally can't believe, like JJ, and I truly believe JJ is actually arguing what he believes, because I don't think he goes on it, even on his podcast. Was it three old
the old man and the three?
Yeah. Because he goes on, I don't think he would be BSing on his own podcast because he says on his podcast what he says on TV. But I'm just going to use JJ as an example, and even Richard Jefferson to that point has kind of been arguing for the Nuggets. I don't know if it's because he had a cup of coffee here or whatever, but they're like, hey, JJ, you're going to argue for the Nuggets. Big Perk, you're going to argue against it. And maybe even Big Perk is like, behind the scenes, maybe he's like, man, it's going to be hard because I think the Nuggets are the best team, but whatever. I'll go out there and act my A off.
And it's like Keyshawn did you see what Keyshawn said after the Lakers series? He was like, I'm playing a part. This is my part that I play.
He's like, that was an act. Come on, guys.
An act. And that's what a lot of these guys do. It even happens here locally too. We got guys around here locally that do that play a certain part.
Yeah.
It is what it's sports. It's wrestling without the wrestling.
I mean, it's a reality TV show where you think people are acting or are responding in the moment, but it's really all scripted. So. Which is unfortunate because as a kid, I used to believe like, oh man, these guys are truly arguing what they believe.
Right, exactly. That's what I used to watch Around the Horn and PTI, and there were so many other shows that I'd watch.
PTI, I think those guys are Wilbon and Kornheiser. I think they're legit because I think even Wilbon goes on what is it for the pregame shows or whatever.
The pregame, yes, yeah.
I think he says what he believes. Wilbon, I think he's too old to be like that. I think he's at this point he's a crotchety old man to be like, no, I'm going. Don't give me a script.
Right. I agree. That's those were my favorite shows.
By the way, sitting where I was sitting, they had Greenberg and Stephen A. and Jalen Rose and Wilbon like right up, a couple sections up from where I was sitting. So, and it was funny when the Nuggets won. I was like, you know what they're saying right now? The narrative is on ESPN right now is, quote, they let the Heat creep back into it. Miami in 9 is what I said.
Yeah. They figured something out.
Yep. The Jokic stopper, Cody Zeller. So, yeah. So the Stanley Cup Finals, once again, Vegas leads that one already. 1-0. Of course, the Nuggets lead the NBA Finals 1-0. Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final tomorrow at 6:00 Mountain Time from T-Mobile Arena in Vegas, and the Game 2 of the NBA Finals is tonight, Sunday night, right here in Denver at Ball Arena, 6:00 Mountain tip-off as well. So a half hour earlier than it was Thursday, which is kind of good. When you're the only sports kind of thing going on right now, you have the whole world's attention. So maybe more people will tune in Sunday night.
We'll see.
I don't really care who tunes in, Matt. All I care is, that place was rocking, Matt. Absolutely. I honestly don't know how I have a voice right now.
Yeah, that's a great point because, like, I could care less about the ratings. I'm watching my team.
If you want to watch it, go watch My Little Pony. I don't care.
I don't care. Go watch something else. If you think this is boring basketball, you don't know what the hell you're watching. If you think this is boring basketball,
yeah, you jabronis.
You jabrones.
All right, so we're going to get out of here. Thank you. All the people, all the messages, all the texts. And don't forget to go like our socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, whatever you want to do at 5280 Sports Radio. is the handle for most of those. Go check out e5280sports.com. A lot of articles and content up there as well. Our latest pod drops and our latest blog drops, all on there. And if you want to go check out who does the shows, all of us have a little bio page as well. So, by the way, Matt, the Mammoth lost today, so they will not win back-to-back championships.
Darn it! I guess Kroenke won't he'll have to miss out on that ring.
Yeah, but kind of a mini shout out to the Kroenkes. If the Nuggets win this year, it'll be 3 years in a row that professional sports franchise in 3 different sports will have a parade in their respective downtowns. Matt, the LA Rams, the Colorado Avalanche, and the Denver Nuggets, and the Mammoth won last year.
And the Mammoth, that's impressive as hell.
So
some people might disagree with the way they do things, but that's pretty impressive if you're ownership.
Just put them on TV. This is why a lot of people can't watch the Nuggets until the playoffs, Matt, because they're just not on TV. And we're not going to get into that, obviously, but just put them on TV. If the Nuggets win, you almost have to put them on TV starting next
season. Get that app going, dang it. Get the app going. I'm voting for the app.
Get something going.
Something.
Something. By the way, Matt, the second longest tenured head coach in NBA, Steve Kerr.
I was going to say, I was thinking Golden State, and yeah.
So how about this? Here, I'll go through it. Greg Popovich, number 1, obviously, hired in 1996. So he might play till he's in a casket now because they're going to get Victor. The number 2, Eric Spoelstra, as we said, hired in 2008. Steve Kerr for the Warriors. 2014, Michael Malone with the Nuggets, hired in 2015. And this is where it gets really dicey because none of these people are with these teams anymore. Number 5 would have been Mike Budenholzer.
Right.
2018. Number 6 would have been Dwayne Casey, Pistons, 2018. Number 7 would have been Nick Nurse, Raptors, 2018. Number 8 would have been Monty Williams with the Suns, 2019. And then number 9, I think Taylor Jenkins is still the Grizzlies head coach.
Yeah.
2019, JB Bickerstaff with the Cavaliers, 2020. Tom Thibodeau, good old Tibbs with the Knicks in 2020. Number 12 would have been Steve Nash with the Nets in 2020. Billy Donovan is still the Bulls head coach, 2020. Number 14 would have been Doc Rivers with the Sixers, 2020. And number 15, Tyrone Lue with the Clippers, who's still there, 2020.
That shows you right there how the turnover in the NBA when it comes to coaching is. You have 3 of them that are there's outside of Pop and maybe Kerr if he still go, because there's some rumblings too. There's nobody over 10 years outside of Pop.
No, yeah, because Michael Malone's 8, Steve Kerr is 9. Yeah,
it's like the shelf life for an NBA coach is 3 to 4 seasons.
That's what I'm saying. It would have been interesting if the Nuggets would have been out of the. How about this, man? Another little sports trivia for you. It is the anniversary of the passing of Lou Gehrig, Matt. So how about this? Lou Gehrig was the first ever professional sports player to have his number retired by a professional sports team, which kind of catapulted retiring numbers in professional sports.
Wow.
How about that?
That's pretty freaking cool.
So he was the first ever professional sports player to have his jersey retired. Excuse me, it's on June 13th. Is Lou Gehrig Day, but yeah, first ever one to have his jersey retired.
That is interesting. I didn't know that. You would think it'd be baseball though, because baseball's been around for a hell of a long time.
And now the Yankees have like 20 guys to have their number jersey retired with the New York Yankees alone. So, and obviously that's celebrating ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, which he passed away with all the way back, Matt, in the 1940s. So, shout out there.
Lou Gehrig, man.
There you go. First ever guy to have his number and jersey retired by a professional. I thought that was cool. I was playing. How about this? I actually found that out playing MLB The Show.
Oh,
so again, no research, all reaction. So that's how we find stuff out, by playing video games.
I love that. That's so. You remember MLB? There's the show, and then There was one before that.
Yeah, there was a 2K. They had a 2K out.
Did they have a 2K? And wasn't there an EA? What was the EA one called?
That was it started as King Griffey Jr. Baseball was
Yeah.
EA, and then it just turned into, I think it was MLB Live or something like that.
Yeah, live. Because it was always NBA Live. When EA would make NBA, it'd be NBA Live, and then NHL Live. Yeah. They used to.
I was close, by the way. Excuse, I didn't mean to cut you off, but he did pass away, Lou Gehrig, on June 2nd. So 2 days ago would have been his anniversary. 1941 is when he passed away. So it would have been the anniversary of Lou Gehrig's death. It would have been the 82nd anniversary. So
yeah,
that's why I figured that out.
That's crazy.
Lou Gehrig Day is on June 13th.
Okay.
And I think that's, so there you go.
It's next week, isn't it?
Yeah. But we're going to get on out of here. Thank you once again for interacting, tuning in to the Wheelhouse here on Elevation 5280 Sports and Lifestyle. Go check out the website as well, e5280sports.com. Like all the socials, check out our partner podcast network as well, Rocky Mountain Sports Network. And so a little trivia. I should have got an extra jersey, Matt, to give away for these trivia questions, but
that would be cool.
I mean, I could give away the Aaron Gordon I still have in the
Go ahead and give that one away.
So there you go. We're going to get out of here. Once again, apologize for the delayed start, but again, thank you all for getting in here and interacting with us, Matt. By the time we may be on next week, we could be recapping a Denver Nuggets championship if it all goes as planned. If it doesn't, we'll be previewing a Game 5, which is fine.
Right?
So that's where we are right now.
I got stuff falling off of my desk here. I feel like Dumb and Dumber. Our pets' heads are falling off.
We've got no food. We've got no jobs. Our heads are falling off. All right, we're gonna get out of here. When we start quoting Dumb and Dumber, it's time to go.
That's it. That's time to go.
All right, for Matt Mascarenas, I am Michael Spillane. We will talk to you and see you next week.